Hey lovelies, it's Kate. Welcome back to another speed build. It's time for another mansion, but this time it's a mega mansion. I built this one on a 64 by 64 lot. It's the one in Del Sol Valley in the Pinnacles. And here you can see that I started off by building the round frame for the pool. For this I used the Spade Stony Goodness slab. It's just an object that is supposed to be placed on a water surface for decorative purposes, but I decided to use it to create a round shape. You guys know that I really enjoy doing this, and I did this about, I think, 5 times. So the first 4 times I just didn't nail the shape until I decided to use a round base game rock, as you saw. So I placed the round rock and I used it as a guideline. I always tell you guys that this is a great idea, but for some reason I didn't do that the first 4 tries, so I completely messed the shape up. I didn't include that in this recording, but I messed this up, and then I tried it again, and then my game crashed. And then I took a little break yesterday, and then I tried it again, and this time around I used the rock, as you just saw. So this build is huge. It has 6 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms. There's also a little party room at the bottom, which includes a dance floor and a bar. There are many rooms, and you guys know that I prefer to build on 50 by 50 lots for big builds, but this time I just wanted to create something that's really huge, and I also used a lot of the space of the lot, so the house itself is really huge. It's spacious. I still try to not make the kitchen too big, because you guys know that I have a tendency to do that, but I think I actually got better with this. Like months and months ago, you guys always told me that that the counters are too long and that the kitchens are too big, so I really try to keep it a bit smaller here. And as you can see here, I work with multiple levels for this build, and this is how I try to make the landscaping, the whole outside, look more interesting. And what I did was I just used a foundation, and you can adjust the height. As you guys know, there is an arrow when you click on the foundation, so you can make it higher or lower. And then I just left 1 tile in between them, because we cannot connect foundations of different heights. But what we can do is you simply leave a gap between the 2 foundations, and then you can fill in the gap with the terrain tools. And you can even place a floor on this area, so it's not even visible from the outside. You will see later how I'm doing this. Here at this point I'm just working on the shape of the house, and I knew that I would like to include some round balconies. But usually what I do is I use 2 foundation pieces, 2 round foundation pieces that already have a fence attached to them, and then I make them smaller on both sides. I combine 2 of them, and what I have is a perfect half circle. This is what I usually do for these balconies, but here I wanted to try something different, because a part of this build is diagonal, and I wanted to have a diagonal round balcony. So what I did was I just used 1 piece, so it's 1/4 of a circle, just 1 round piece of foundation. I still made them smaller on both sides for most of them. I used these balconies in different places on this build, and I really struggle to make the exterior trim or the freezers work, because as you saw at the beginning, in some areas there is just the round frieze above the round balcony. I then also included some fences. I just wanted to have some trellis above the round sections to make it look more interesting. I really wanted this to be an eye catcher, and this was a real struggle. Sometimes even when you press shift, and even when you really try to control where you place the exterior trim or freezers, sometimes it's just horrible. Also, in case this is news to you, you can hold shift and then you can place freezers only in certain areas, which is really helpful and cool, but sometimes it's just not working properly and it's super confusing. I also had the issue that the top floor, I think it wasn't fully closed, even though it seemed to be fully closed, but the game didn't recognize it as a fully closed room. So I then used the room tool later, and I just went over the whole big room. What I like to do is I just delete all the walls on the interior after I finish the exterior, so I only have 1 big room for each floor, and then after everything is fine, I start to work on the floor plan. But I think I didn't record fixing the exterior trim issue. For this build in general, I didn't record the whole thing. I left some pieces out that are boring, or when I just repeated something. After I finished the exterior, for example, I ran to the front and I basically just repeated what I did in the back. I used the same windows and the flowers, and then I ran back and started recording because I figured that this build is already so huge and the video is so long, so I just tried to include the most interesting parts in this video. But of course the build is fully furnished and you are also going to see a lot of screenshots at the end of the video. So here you just witnessed how I struggled with the freezes above the round sections, as I've just told you. What is my word of advice here? I don't really have one. So what I did was I actually changed the rooms around the freezers. So I just expanded the room, so the areas where the freezers were acting weird, I just built a room there. So I just changed this up a bit to make it work. There is no real fix for this, and it's super confusing and annoying, especially when you really want to, when you just really have a vision and you really want to build this in a specific way, and then the freezers are acting a bit weird. Also, a general word of advice for a build like this: you always want to start at the bottom. I've said this before in another speed build a while ago, but because this is just some type of multi-level build, I really want to tell you guys how to do this. So when you build something like this, you just start at the very bottom. You build your foundation and your pool, for example, in this case, and then you just work your way up. You build your room at the top and you just add more on top, and then on the left, as you saw, I added the foundation pieces. So when you start at the top, you cannot add anything underneath. So when you have a floating room, for example, and you want to have a floor underneath, then it's telling you conflicting block clusters or something. For whatever reason, it's not working. So if you build a more complex build like this with multiple levels, where you just have different foundation heights and all kinds of different things, where a part of the build sits on the floor at the very bottom, and then you have a part of your build that sits on the terrain at the top, always start at the bottom. I cannot stress this enough. A build like this can be very confusing, and even I kind of had to figure out where to start and what to do, even though I really like to work with the terrain and different levels and all that. But just start at the bottom and add more stuff, and then you will see that it all comes together at some point. Also, is anyone else super stressed out about Christmas? I really love Christmas, but recently I've been so stressed out, and every year when it's August or September, some people are starting to do their Christmas shopping. They buy presents and they just get ready. They buy Christmas decorations and they are super ready. And in August and September, I'm still in summer mode, and I'm impatiently awaiting autumn because it's my favorite season, and I really love Halloween, as you guys know. So I don't really want to think about Christmas when it's August or September, and every year I shake my head at these people. Sorry, no shade, but I think, oh my god, it's not even autumn, what are you guys doing? And then it's December, I start to decorate, and then I think, okay, there's so much stuff to do, and I swear next year I really want to start early as well. I want to shake my head at myself. I really want to start in September or October, because every year it's just so stressful. There are so many things to do, and I don't know, I'm really looking forward to Christmas, and as soon as Christmas is there, all the stress is over, because then it's just celebrating and enjoying Christmas. But the weeks before Christmas just always stress me out so much, and I don't even want this to stress me out. Let me know in the comments down below if you have the same issue, or if you take care of Christmas early. I don't know. Also, I completely forgot to tell you guys, you know that I told you that I bought colorful Christmas lights for the tree, because my grandma always had this colorful Christmas tree, and I really wanted to have super colorful lights on the Christmas tree, and the ones I bought are horrible. Like, it's not that bad, and I'm going to leave it the way it is, but usually you have some pink lights in between and orange or something, so it's really like a rainbow, really colorful. But the ones I bought have 4 different colors. One is basically just a regular Christmas light color, like white, regular light color. Then there's red, green, and blue. But the problem is that the regular color and the red are basically invisible, like you don't notice them. But the blue and the green are super bright. So when you look at the tree, all you can see is green and blue, which is not super Christmassy. I don't know, but it doesn't look bad. A bit tacky maybe, but not that bad. But next year I'm definitely going to buy different Christmas lights in September. Remind me next year, guys. Next year, when I start to talk about Halloween, if you're still here, if you're still watching, please tell me to buy the colorful Christmas lights. So at this point here, I'm just adding more and more stuff. I finished the shape of the house and I really wanted to add more details. Just a table on the outside, a couple of chairs, and just stuff where Sims can hang out. The color scheme is super basic and simple actually. You guys know that white is my weakness for builds. I love to use white friezes and exterior trims. Of course I did that here. And the wallpaper color is the beige light brown wall color that came with University, just a very light brick color. And the roof swatch is part of Get Famous actually, so it's very basic. But for this build I really like the color combination white array. For some builds I just completely change up the color. Like I start off by I build something and then I don't like the color, and then after I've made a couple of changes the whole build has a different feel suddenly. But here I knew right away what I wanted to do. Okay, here I'm working in the front actually, so the back is finished so far. And of course I also had to work on the front section. I already added the windows here at this point and the flowers because, as I said, I had to cut out some parts. I wanted to include a round section in the front, so the stairs are the real eye catcher of the front. I also included a little tower in the front where you can see the front door, just so the exterior in the front has the same style as the one in the back. I included some base game rocks. These are debug objects actually, and they are amazing. You guys know that I love to use them. There was a lot of space in the front left, and I think that these are always a good option for landscaping, as well as this very flat base game bush that I really like to use to hide the terrain. You guys know this, and again I can only recommend that you use it if you want to hide the terrain. It's just amazing. It has the perfect shape to hide the terrain. And then I decided to create a curved path in the back because there was a lot of space left in this area, so it's almost like a castle or a palace, and then you have this big garden, and I had no idea what to build there. And then I figured that a curved path would have the perfect shape to fill in this area. There's a tutorial on my channel for this. You just use round foundation pieces and it's really simple. You can find my tutorial playlist in the description box down below, and there you can also find the curved path tutorial in case you want to build your own curved path. I also used round foundation pieces in the corners just so it looks, I don't know, good and balanced. I didn't want to have just like regular corners. I don't know, I really wanted to have a round shape here. It looks better in my opinion. And I combined two different floors. One is part of Get Famous, it's some type of stone floor, and the other one, I'm not even sure to which pack it belongs, but it's a really warm toned wood floor which is super beautiful. And I used some hedges, as you just saw, to create some round shapes underneath the round balcony, just all kinds of different things. And at this point the build is really coming along. And now it's finally time to work on the interior. You guys know how I just told you that I knew for the exterior red array what color scheme I was going for, but this wasn't the case for the interior at all. Here you can see that I used blue on the walls and the kitchen is white, but then I didn't like the color scheme because, I don't know, it just didn't match the exterior. The exterior is super warm colored and friendly, and then the blue, I just didn't like it. I just left the hallway, the entrance area blue. It's a beautiful, stunning color actually, but I didn't like it. So I then decided to go for a very dark brown wood wallpaper, as you will see. And this area here is the dining area, and I think it's super beautiful because I built this tower. It almost has a round shape, and it's just the perfect place for a round dining table. I rarely use this dining table. I just realized that for most of my builds I just used a regular rectangular dining table, but the round ones are beautiful. But I feel like you really have to find the correct spot for these dining tables. Like here, for example, this area was just made for this dining table, but while building this, I didn't even have this in mind. But as soon as I started to work on the interior, I saw this area and I thought, okay, we're going to use a round dining table for once. So here you can see that everything now is super dark and super brown. The build, even though at first I thought it's just a mansion build, then looked like a castle or a palace, at least something that is inspired by a palace. So the interior just matches the whole theme so much more. It looks like a really dark kind of castle. It looks very traditional, and I also wanted to have a little modern twist here and there, so I also used a lot of white. You can see here that I used a city living rug, which is white. The fireplace is white, and I also used these little tables that are part of Dine Out. They are amazing, but at the same time I really wanted to keep it balanced and wanted to use furniture that also has a dark brown color, which is also why I'm going to change the color of the kitchen. Later on I'm going to change the color to a dark green. At this point here I used the white swatch of the vampire counters, but I didn't really like that at all. It just, I don't know, for the rest of the house, for parts of the furniture, the white was really fitting, but here I didn't really like it. The kitchen isn't that big, as I said before, but then the color, I don't know, it was like a real struggle to find the correct color combination for this build. For the bathrooms, I went for a very classic, simple layout and color scheme. The floor and the wallpaper are part of Spa Day. I really love to use the floor and the wallpaper for any type of bathroom. They come in different swatches, and the Spa Day pack has many amazing objects actually. Also the little decorations that I placed on this table here are part of the pack, at least one of them, and I really wanted this to be light, and it looks modern, but at the same time it has a rustic feel to it. These are the vampire counters that I also used in the kitchen, but in a different swatch, and here you can see the dark green. It just looks so much more amazing. I don't know, but at this point I felt like the kitchen actually matches the rest of the interior. I think it's much more difficult for me to work on a more darker traditional interior. I really like to furnish modern builds, so it's always a struggle, and here I unintentionally went into a direction that was a bit tricky, because sometimes I start to furnish, I pick a floor and a wall color and objects, and then I just try to match everything, and I don't know, just start somewhere. I don't really make a conscious decision right away how the whole interior should look. I just roll with it. I just build and see what happens, and at some point this was a bit tricky. So this is one of the 6 bedrooms. I included, I think, 2 kids' rooms. The other bedrooms are regular bedrooms. Of course, you can change this if you would like to. I said this before in the beginning when I started to create builds for the gallery and for my videos. I always included one master bedroom, and all the other bedrooms were always kids' rooms. But then I stopped doing that because I wanted to mix things up. Sometimes you have multiple grown-ups in one house, not only the typical parents and kids constellation. So I really like to change this up for my builds at this point, but you can find this in the gallery and you can just change the furniture for some of the rooms. There's plenty of space. You can really, I don't know, in this house you could let 8 Sims move in. I mean, there's just so much space. You could even remodel some of the rooms at the bottom where I included the party room. You could even add more bedrooms to this, and space for a butler. There's just so much space. This is one of the kids' rooms or teenager rooms. It depends on if you remove something or if you leave it like that. I included a couple of toys, but this actually looks more like a teenager room now that I think about it. It has a pink color scheme. It looks more modern than the other rooms, but at the same time it still has this very traditional feel to it. And this is it, guys. Thank you so much for watching and for your constant support. I really appreciate it. You can find this fully furnished and CC free build in the gallery. So if you want to check it out, check the description box down below. I hope you have a perfect day, and I hope I see you in the next video. Bye bye.